future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Hi, and welcome to Live, Love, Thrive Women's Empowerment Hour. So happy to have you join us today. You know, every week I am so honored to interview such inspiring people. I want to mention that next week I have on renowned scholar Gail Dines, who has studied the pornographic culture for more than 30 years and is going to talk about how it impacts our kids. And also we're going to have Robert Rabin, who is a renowned author and speaker who actually empowers women how to publicly speak, which I sound like I could use right now. And he has survived stage 4 cancer. We're going to talk to him. He's incredible, and he'll be on next week. So subscribe to our YouTube so you don't miss an episode. Today's show, we're going to have co-founder of Monk Provisions, which is Melanie McGraw. So happy to have her here today. We're going to talk about the cannabis industry and where that's headed. And then later in the show, we're going to be talking with Allison Robertson, who is an accomplished actress and coach, and she'll be sharing with us her very moving story of how she adopted her gay son. So with no further ado, please give a warm welcome to Melanie McGraw.
Thanks, Catherine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great.
How
It's
you
great to
doing?
be here. It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. UBN, we love it here. Tony's sweet. He's a doll.
Absolutely.
So tell me, gosh, you've had such an interesting journey. So we're going to talk about how you got from being in a Mormon culture to now being a big champion in the cannabis culture.
Okay,
So
yes.
that's got to be a good story right there.
It's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah. Our listeners now are with bated breath. So you did grow up in a Mormon culture.
I did,
But oddly enough, not in Utah.
Nope.
In
On the East
Maryland,
Coast, in Maryland.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Hyattsville, Maryland.
Yeah, you were
So,
like one of 3 Mormons there, right?
in my high school. Yeah,
Right.
so we had about 3,000 kids in my high school, and I was one of 3 Mormons.
Yeah.
So yes, it was a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah. So right there out of the box, that had to have been a little challenging to be, in a religion that wasn't as popular or well known or understood by your peers. I would think right there that's a challenge, and then we'll get to the other challenges.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that when you grow up Mormon, you definitely have a sense of feeling like you belong in that world, and yet you're part of a much larger world that may not understand what that religion is about or what the practice is. They may have preconceived notions and things
Right.
like that.
Just
So you
like
definitely feel like an odd person out for sure.
Right. Just like we're feeling like with the, I think the Muslim population
Absolutely.
right now. You know, if people don't understand it and it's not in their realm or their life, they kind of fear it or
Exactly.
think it's strange
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
the case.
judgment at best,
Yeah.
and then fear at worst.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
absolutely.
And your dad was in the Navy, so you traveled a lot.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I moved 14 times by the time I was in 3rd grade.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So yeah. So he was active duty Navy.
Yeah.
And then in 3rd grade we landed in Maryland, and then that's sort of where I stopped my travels for a few years until I ended up going to college.
Right. Now your college did bring you to Mormon world.
That brought me to Utah.
Which was
Yes.
Utah.
BYU.
BYU, which we all know is a very Mormon culture university.
Yes.
And so what was that experience like? Because was it around that time you realized you were gay? Or?
No, it was actually at BYU that I
At
realized
BYU,
I was
of course.
gay.
What a wonderful environment to
Yes.
figure that out.
And when I first arrived at BYU, I was still an incredibly sheltered, stalwart Mormon girl.
Yeah.
And I was an English major, and I think that on a lot of levels I had a latent independence and explorative mind.
Now, is that because the Mormon culture kind of cultivated that? Is it? I mean, I know it's kind of a male. I mean, this is my perception.
Yeah.
Is that it's kind of a male-dominated.
It's very patriarchal, and it's very
yeah.
conservative in that sense. And
Right.
women have their roles and men have their roles. And yet, women also there's a lot of respect for women, but, of course, there's always the nuance of patriarchy.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I think that being at BYU, I think that what really what really brought me out of my shell was the rub. It was the rub of watching all of these wonderful people. A lot of, I ended up meeting a lot of people outside of the church, and I was continuously struck by these great people who were not Mormon, and yet their ideas resonated with me.
Right.
And then I would have Mormons that I felt like their minds were a little shut down and fearful and intolerant. And so, my family had always taught me loving each other, love your neighbor, and really that service mentality. And so what I was seeing in the culture when I was surrounded by all Mormons, I could see that, Mormons, they're not the only ones that hold the guardians to the kingdom, and when it comes to kindness and love and service.
And there are many, let's say there's many religions that think they hold the keys to the kingdom, not just the Mormons.
Absolutely.
So, but I never have understood that mentality. Being a spiritual person myself, I just think we should love everybody, no judgment.
Absolutely.
We're all equal.
That's right.
We're all good souls. And, I have never understood that we are the most important entity type of thinking. And so, I do see that in Mormon culture and other religions.
Exactly. And I think that was the most profound realization when I was at BYU, is to start to understand who I was outside of Mormonism, because I could see this huge mirror reflected back to me of just pure Mormonism in all its shades, right? In the super judgmental and the super wonderful, and there were so many Mormons that I met that were also a lot more liberal than my family, frankly. I come from a very conservative family, so in addition
and a big family, right?
Huge, 10 children.
Wow.
I'm the second oldest. I'm the oldest girl of 10 children. And so I started to be able to pull apart sort of what politics from religion in a way that I had, because they'd always just been together in my world. And so I was like, so there's actually liberal Mormons, and there's conservative Mormons, and there's Mormons that have their own ideas about things and are still practicing Mormons, and and you could just see all the different shades, and that's what I think it finally gave me the courage to explore who I was as an individual. And in the end, it didn't work for me to remain in the religion just because it was, I didn't like the reflection back to me. Would that have been whether
you were gay or not?
What's interesting is that I was married to a man at the time that I stopped practicing Mormonism, and it was a very it was an overt realization and decision that I made, and that was before I knew I was gay. So about 2 years later,
it wasn't for you.
That's
even
exactly right.
Despite being gay.
That's right.
I see. Okay,
it wasn't. It wasn't open. I didn't feel like I could be open enough, and without a lot of questions coming at me, and it just felt like there was more. I needed more room in my life.
Now, isn't it true in the Mormon religion that you can't divorce, and you can't be gay, and you're kind of thrown out of it if you do either, right?
Well, so you can divorce, and
here's a lesson in Mormonism.
Yeah, so you can divorce. I mean, now there's a temple marriage, and there's a civil marriage, and
this could be the whole show.
They could, and they believe that they're married for time and all eternity. But I think that for me it was just So that was fine. The divorce was fine. I think being gay was harder. And that took quite a long time to kind of just and even outside of the religion, but mostly just with my family.
Now, once you come to find out you were gay, you stayed at BYU?
I was at, actually no, because I graduated from BYU. I was still married, and then I believe it was about a year after I graduated.
And before we move on, so your parents have come to terms with your being gay?
They're very, I mean, they're truly kind-hearted, loving people. And it took a long time for them to reconcile just their beliefs and what they were being taught with what they were seeing in their family. And trying to figure that out. Isn't it true
when people have someone gay in their family, it is more of a likelihood that they will come to let go of their judgments and love them? Not always, unfortunately not always, but when you know somebody, whether it's a child or a friend or someone, when you actually have them in your sphere, I think people tend to be more understanding.
I think that you have a choice to be more understanding or less understanding.
That's true.
And I think that unfortunately, I have seen families where they choose to go the other way, but it forces the issue regardless, because you do have this child that you love, and so the choice becomes, will you choose your own fear and comfort over the love that you have for your child, knowing that,
Yes.
if you choose your fear and comfort, then your child will be hurting potentially. So,
Right.
it's how do you weigh all those things? How do you reconcile things that are inherently contradictory?
And it's funny. My next guest on my show actually adopted a gay son, and we're going to talk about that. So I'm really glad that we brought this up.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's so true about the acceptance and how it impacts that child and how important that is. And I think any loving human being has got to break through their own fear or judgments about that. But
Absolutely.
That, like I said, this is definitely a whole nother Oprah. So somehow you ended up on the Cannabis Road
I did.
by way of USC Film School, where you got your MFA.
I
and
did.
I know you did an Academy Award-winning student film, and that was about Mormonism. Right?
Well, yes, it was about a 12-year-old Mormon girl she's with her family on a road trip through the desert.
Called Pit Stop.
Pit Stop. They stop off at a gas station and she gets left behind. So it's all about exploring feeling invisible in a large family.
This is a metaphor.
And finding a voice. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So and all the films that I've made or are seeking to make are often harken back to that personal story of a girl or a woman in an environment where it's dangerous on some level, whether emotionally dangerous or physically dangerous, to be who she is.
Wow.
And I think that's something that's very interesting, and I just constantly want to explore.
It's so great that you have found your authenticity, because so many people go through life never being their honest selves, and it's such a burden to carry. I don't think there's any way someone could find really true joy and happiness unless they're being true to themselves.
That is so true.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. You see children who you can tell that they grow up in a world where they are absolutely okay who they are. And then you see other kids who all the messages they get are, you are absolutely not okay for who you are, just inherently who you are. And it has a profound impact on their ability to just move through life, through their relationships, through their work, through finding their own creativity, and just the way that they feel about themselves as they get up every day.
So once you kind of owned it and got out of that culture that you weren't feeling accepted or comfortable in, then you really flew, right?
Yes,
right?
Exactly. It really is. It's true. It's like all of a sudden, I mean, it's like my legs were cut off because everything that I knew as family, friends, identity, socializing, all of it, because the Mormon Church is so intensely participatory.
Right.
That was gone, and so I had to recreate myself and reinvent myself.
Speaking of that, what does your shirt say?
Oh, it says, "I will make better mistakes tomorrow."
I love that. I love that. I will make better mistakes tomorrow. I love that.
Yes.
Yep, we will.
Yes, we will. To be sure. To be sure.
And it's great. Mistakes are great because we learn from them.
That's right. That's exactly right.
If we didn't have them, then where would we be?
That would be kind of
So
boring.
we have to embrace them, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So speaking of that, so your USC film school and all your making these fabulous films. I know Pit Stop and then also Numb for Jesus.
Numb for Jesus is something I've been working on for
Yeah.
a number of years, and I that's a feature-length script it's based off of, or it was inspired by Pit Stop, but it's diving way more into the Mormon family and the Mormon world, and
Can we see that yet, or is
not
that,
yet?
Okay,
So
okay, that's
it's
a
still
work in progress.
I've still been working on the script, and frankly, I just need to make that happen, and I think that I've been very precious about it, and starting Monk has been a great reminder to not be precious, because I love collaboration, and I love that about film. I love that about business.
Yes.
I love being creative. And I also like the balance of it all. I like the project and I like limitations. And I think that's, to be able to make a film, when you're writing a film and you start to get really precious and critical of like, oh, and then what's my mom going to think when she reads? Oh, my gosh, she's like, she's going to hate me forever.
Yeah.
It's just like, why did you put the
You
family
never get
up
away
on the
from
screen?
that, right?
That's right. And I think it's a great reminder to have put that away for a little bit, to bring it back at some point and just say,
Yeah.
let's just do this. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to make mistakes.
Every filmmaker now,
That's right.
this is resonating
That's
with
right.
them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It's
just
so
do
true.
it. Just make it.
Just do
and then
it.
the great thing is that then you just surround you end up pulling in people into your life who can help you make it even better. And I think that's I'm surrounded at work with people who are better at certain things than I am, and that's such a wonderful privilege.
I just had this conversation with somebody about, my site 360karma.com. It really is about providing all the different experts and tools for because we don't have all the gifts ourselves.
That's right. That's
And
exactly.
so
And that's okay.
And that's perfectly
That's-
okay.
that's exactly as it should be.
And it's so important to find the people that do, because that's what helps us to accomplish what we need to accomplish. But we don't have to know it all.
That's right.
We just have to align with people who do.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah,
I
and,
think
and
that-
be able to open up the space so that everybody can work at their best.
Yes.
And I think that's what I learned from directing was, my job is to actually show up on the set and create a space that's safe enough and that's focused enough with great communication
Yes.
so that people can come together and do their best work.
Yeah. And enjoy it.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
work toward a common goal.
Yeah.
And limitations, that's great. Restrictions, great. That's all part of the process, and it makes for great creativity.
So I'm sure by this time everybody's going, Mormon girl, gay girl, filmmaker, and she end up in the cannabis industry. How?
Cannabis. Yes, it just
So
doesn't
this-
make any sense.
Yeah. So you were actually making films for the cannabis industry,
did,
right?
yes. Yeah.
You kind of fell into it. You weren't a pot smoker. You told me maybe you
No, I
toked it
mean-
once or twice, but it wasn't like this was a big.
No,
you know,
it was so foreign to me. And frankly, if you told my 18-year-old
Focusing.
self that I was going to be in the cannabis industry, my question would have been, what is cannabis? I have
Right,
no idea what
right,
you're talking about.
Right. There might still be some people
that's
saying
right.
that.
Totally. And then you would have told me, and I
Yeah.
would have been like, ooh, that's bad.
Most people say marijuana.
That's right.
Just to understand it.
Exactly.
But there's so many different ingredients too to the cannabis industry, right? You were telling me there's cannabinoids, and then there's the things that
well, there's
actually
the
make
pl-
you high.
there's the plant.
I'm sure
and
you had to
yes.
learn all this, right?
Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's been a process. And when I first started, I was just looking, because as a writer-director, I was looking for something to grease the skid, so to speak, so that I would be able to continue an illustrious and long career, and be able to support it financially. And so I decided to go back to my consulting work. I used to be an instructional designer and training consultant and I worked for Einstein Brothers Bagels and Old Navy and all that. And that was before
Disney
film
and-
school. Yes,
yeah.
exactly. So I had a big corporate career before film school, and then gave it all away because I wanted to go back to writing and
What fed your
focusing on
soul.
that. Exactly. And so
Yeah.
I put it away for keeps until after film school I realized, like, you know what, maybe I should just brush this off a little bit, just to be able to work 20 hours a week and support myself and be able
Right.
to make the films that I want to make. And I was talking to a friend, and she knew somebody that was working at a dispensary, and they were talking about needing the skill set that I offered as a consultant. And so I ended up meeting with Steve D'Angelo, who's one of the great advocates and activists in the industry, and that turned out to be Harborside Health Center, which turned out to be the largest grossing dispensary in the world.
Right. So
I
for
ended
people
up
that don't know what
consulting
that
for them.
is,
Yes.
so the dispensary is where people go and get the
To purchase
marijuana
medicine,
products
yes.
for medical purposes right
That's
now.
exactly right. Yes.
And this was the largest one in the country.
In the country and in
Harbor
the
Health.
world.
And so you got that experience of consulting with them.
Yes.
And that's where you learned the business.
That's correct. That's
Right.
correct. And so I knew restaurants, I knew retail, I knew operations, I knew human resources, I knew all of that. And
And
training.
they probably needed you to take all of that type of knowledge to them.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, and that was part of it. Is
Yeah.
essentially they were operating as a very large mom and pop.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine 70 employees operating as a mom and pop,
Right.
you know, it's
about
a
to
little
pop.
complicated. It was
Yeah.
about to pop, and they were growing. They wanted to grow, and so they brought me in to really start documenting and systematizing and bringing process and training
Yeah.
to their staff. So that's how that started, and I ended up doing a number of films for them and promotional films. And through that, it was really through the film work that I started to develop a love for the industry, because I realized how many people had either lost people or who had people close to them who had suffered. And I was able, through documentary interviews, of just putting together these promotional films for the dispensary.
So it started to resonate with you about how it helped people with their health.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what fascinates
That's
me about
exactly
it.
right. Yeah. So it started out as this kind of odd fit job that I just happened to have a skill set, and I was going to apply it into this industry that I knew nothing about, and it ended up being something where I was like, I can actually make a contribution to something that matters, and it is I had their director of training who was a sheriff in Oakland, and he had tears in his eyes as he was talking about his neighbor who was suffered from cancer, and in the last 6 months of her life, she found cannabis, and it brought her back to life, so that she could be there with her family. So even though she died, and it was too far gone to heal, but she was happier, and that's really meaningful.
Absolutely.
People's quality of life is as important as their health and their psychology.
I never really understood. I think a lot of people go, "Oh, sure, they have a health issue. They just want to go get high."
Right.
Don't you think there's people that think
that?
that?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And maybe there are a few of those.
Yeah, sure.
But I know firsthand, I've seen it happen for my friend Leanne that has MS. She uses the cannabis, and it takes away the pain. And so to witness it firsthand and understand how it helps people medically gives a whole different perspective to why this is important. And I think what you were telling me, and this is what's so fascinating, is that they're starting to regulate this industry more.
That's
so
right.
here you kind of had this free-for-all, like anybody could open up in a corner and just wait to be closed down. But what your effort is, and what you're trying to do, is to make them more sophisticated places, not places with bars on windows, and make it more of a professional, communal environment where people can actually go and get health benefits from this. And I think it's wonderful that you're on that crusade to take it to a whole new level, and then create products like Monk, which are the botanical drinks.
Yes, the drinking botanicals.
Yeah,
yes.
and let's talk about that, because I know we're going to wrap up here in a couple minutes, and I don't want to forget to talk about the actual product, Monk, which is really cool. I've tasted it. It's very relaxing and takes away your stress. I'd like to know more about that and where you're headed with these type of products.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we were looking at coming into the space on a more, not in a consulting perspective, but when Aaron Burke and I, who's my wonderful co-founder and partner in all of this, and we've been working together for a number of years, first in consulting and then now with Monk for the last 2 years. But when we came together, we wanted to do something that had tremendous integrity, that was steeped in our personal values, because we had seen so many people in the industry. I mean, there are plenty of people in the industry that are wonderful, and they are fighting the good fight. And then there are others that are really going for the green rush, that are just trying to make as much money as they can, at the expense of patients, oftentimes. And that's what we were seeing, and we wanted to be a better force in the industry. And we and we wanted a lower dose product that was super consistently dosed and super clean. You see gummy bears, Rice Krispie treats, brownies, just these sugary drinks, and we wanted to provide a healthier product that was a fast onset, so you could manage your cannabis experience. So you didn't have to wait 60 minutes to realize, like, oh wait, that was actually too much.
So,
and that's what you see. You can hear the horror stories of people with
because
with
it wasn't
edibles
regulated.
It wasn't regulated, and also it's just been people. I think the idea of responsible dosing, responsible is a very subjective word. I think that for me, what it means is it provides patients the opportunities, and consumers the opportunity to actually manage their experience. And if the choice is not there for them, then that's not a good thing. You know? I mean, and as a mom, I have a 9-month-old, and as a mom and as a business owner and as somebody who wants to be in the driver's seat of her life, that's important. And I don't want that choice taken away from me by consuming an edible because it's supposed to help me with anxiety or help me with other ailments or whatever it is, and then I find that it was way too much, and I'm not able to actually do the things that I want to do. And so that's a really important piece of it.
I think it's good that the laws are being passed so that there will be more regulation and things like that. But one thing I want to say about your botanical drinks, which is monkprovisions.com,
monkprovisions.com.
is that people can order it. They can, if they don't have a medical card, they can actually get the medical card on your website and order your products. And what I like about your products, these botanical drinks, is that, like you said, they're not full of sugar. They're full of good health healthy
That's
things.
right. They're made with fresh pressed juices, organic botanicals. For example, one is rosemary orange peel.
Yeah.
So we have rosemary and orange peel and lemon and orange, all fresh pressed juices. A little touch of honey. We only use natural things. And then honey, for
There's a
example, is an
grapefruit and
adaptogen.
cinnamon.
Yes,
I like that
a grapefruit,
one.
cinnamon bark, and cayenne with some black pepper. And all of them, they are all formulated so that they target effects. We, for example, have a turmeric, and it also has black pepper because turmeric, the absorption is increased in the body, and the benefits, you get more of them when you add the black pepper. Without the black pepper, you don't. And so things like that we've thought a lot about, and then put them in this beautiful packaging and made drinks that taste like craft cocktails, except without the alcohol, frankly. They're delicious, but what goes behind them is also the exciting part, because they really do target effects like anti-inflammation. Turmeric's very anti-inflammatory, or relaxation and calm, and done with 5 milligrams of THC and CBD. So it's a gentle experience. Yeah. You feel it in about 5 to 10 minutes, and then it gently increases over the course of about 30 minutes and lasts for about 3 hours. So it's, when people talk about like, oh, well, getting high is bad and not getting high is good, and there's the CBD, which is good because it doesn't get you high, and THC gets you high. So with all of it, it's about whole plant medicine. We look at whole foods and
holistic.
Exactly. You don't. What we're not doing is we don't want to do what the pharmaceuticals do of just pinpoint one compound and then synthetically create it. And then say, here's your medicine. It is a plant. And it has many wonderful properties, and when you have a full plant extract, you are able to get the full spectrum of those benefits. There's an entourage effect there.
Well, I love that you came out with this cutting edge product.
Thank you.
I think it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
I think people should try it out at
monkprovisions.com, and we're on Instagram
and people
@drinkmonk.
should also start Googling about the new laws that are
That's right.
making this a better industry.
Yes.
The,
Measure M in Los Angeles,
yes.
Prop 64, which passed in November in California.
It's good to legalize these things, because when they're being done under the bar, so to speak, it's not going to produce good products.
It doesn't
or
help
safe
patients.
products.
That's
it
right.
doesn't help patients.
When it's not in the light of day, when it's not regulated, and this is why Measure M is really important in Los Angeles, because it actually allows the city and the mayor to put regulations in place, have new operators apply for permits for whether it's manufacturing, dispensaries, cultivation, so that there can be accountability there.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for what you're
Absolutely.
doing. It's very
It's
cutting
my
edge.
pleasure.
And who thought that gay Mormon girl would be on this
Who
path?
knew?
But the
That's
champion
right.
for the cannabis
That's right.
industry. But thank you for
Absolutely.
what you're doing. I think it's important to people's health and safety. So thanks.
Thank you. Absolutely. My pleasure.
And we will be right back with Allison. Stay tuned.
The Live, Love, Thrive radio show is produced by 360karma.com. Are you a 360 Karma woman? If so, spread the word. Be sure to follow us on social media at 360 Karma Women on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please like us and share us with family and friends. This is the year of the woman, and we are stronger together. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women.
And we are back with Allison Robertson. Hi, Allison. How are
Catherine,
you?
thank you so much for having me
Oh,
today.
you bet.
How awesome.
Gosh, you have had such an interesting journey, and I can't wait to talk about it from A to Z. First of all, you grew up in New Jersey.
I did.
How'd you get rid of that Jersey accent? Yeah.
Lots of work.
Lots of work.
But if I get angry, you'll hear it.
Okay, I'm not going to piss you off. But no, I actually like a New Jersey accent. I used to live in New York. I'm fascinated with the New York accent, the Jersey accent. In fact, I think I have a Southern New York accent.
I think you do too. It just makes you feel at home.
Yeah. So did you like growing up there?
Sure, I did.
Yeah?
I mean,
Yeah?
I didn't have very many other experiences than being there until I moved out. So I was in New York for some time, in North Carolina, but I'm a Jersey girl at heart.
Yeah. And you came to LA for your acting career.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And you've had some very exciting gigs out here. I know you were recently on Criminal Minds.
It was
And
really great.
A regular on You have regular appearances on Nickelodeon.
Yes.
I guess that's fun because I know you love kids.
I do love kids, and I'm the hero to my kids because I'm on that show. So
oh, I love that. What
blessing.
show is that on Nickelodeon?
It's one you want to catch. Mickey, Ricky, Dickie, and Dawn. It's about quadruplets.
Oh, cute.
Really cute.
Okay, yeah,
Really
I know
cute.
we have a cute picture.
Yeah.
And what was it like being on Criminal Minds?
It was just awesome.
Was it?
I was
Yeah.
allowed to do everything.
It's a brilliant show, huh?
As an actor that I had trained for.
Yeah.
And it was a really creepy episode, and it was just exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You're into that creepy, huh?
I am. I'm not really. So that's
Not
why
in real life.
That's why it's so different for me to play.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah, exactly.
To get to do something that's not in your life. Yeah. And what would be your dream show to be on? Do you have something that you're like, oh my God, I would love to be on that show?
Probably Scandal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good one. I think they
Right.
filmed that here at our studios.
I think they do
here
too.
where we're at UBN.
When I was walking in, I was like,
yeah,
oh,
Sunset
okay.
Gower Studios.
I'll just manifest
just
that.
just go walk out. Why don't you just go on the set today?
Yeah, why don't I just not go?
Yeah, that would be a scandal.
Can you imagine?
I think we should do it.
I'll
what
say
do you guys
Catherine
think?
Gray sent me.
Let's do it. Anyway, so on your way to La La Land, you've had some interesting twists and turns.
have.
And one of the most interesting, I think, is I know you were shooting some commercials in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And you kind of connected with this little 5-6-year-old little actor guy that was on set doing
Yeah.
commercials with you.
Corey.
And I'll let you tell the story
Okay.
because I love this story. I know he came up to you and asked you to play Hangman.
He did. He did.
Yeah.
So I was 24, and I was working in North Carolina, and I was cast in, like you said, a commercial with a 6-year-old boy. And this very cute little boy came up to me and he said, "Do you want to play Hangman?" And being 24, a little vapid, and from New Jersey, I said no. Then he said, a few minutes later, "You sure you don't want to play?" And I said, "Okay, one game."
Yeah.
And he laid out a 14-letter word. And I thought, what the heck happened to cat? But the word was paleontologist because Friends was popular at that time.
Oh.
So this little boy
I'm like,
and I,
where would this 5-year-old
I know,
kid know
right?
the word
It
paleontologist?
was awesome. It was really,
I wouldn't have even known that.
yeah. But there was something about him in that moment, and I thought to myself, I'm going to know this little boy forever,
Yeah.
or he's going to make $1 million. Or I need therapy. I wasn't sure which one it was.
Maybe all three.
And the first one is what it was. He was going to be in my life forever.
Wow.
And
So you met him, and this thought
Met
went through your
him.
mind, even though you didn't
Yeah.
want to play Hangman with
Yes.
them, that somehow this kid's going to be in your life forever.
absolutely.
Wow.
And one
Must
of the
have been a
things,
premonition.
it was one of those things that really shook me to my core. And
Because you're thinking, this is a crazy thought, right? Yeah.
totally crazy.
I'd be thinking that.
Totally crazy. And it was the early 90s, and I remember I called my mom on like a big brick cell phone.
Oh, yeah. I used to have one of those.
From North Carolina
Yeah,
to New
now
Jersey.
we're really dating ourselves.
And it was an expensive call, but I had to tell somebody. And it was the truth. Through turns of events, I wound up having custody of him
Oh, my gosh.
about 5 years later. And
So you guys stayed in touch all that time.
here's the thing.
Yeah.
His family needed me. He needed me. But most of all, I needed him.
Right. Isn't that always the way it
Yeah.
is? I tell you, every time we help someone else, it's really helping us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And this is how I based my life, was because of Corey. Because when things are presented to you, you don't know if you should take them or not take them, because it didn't look like the straight path for me with him. And it wasn't easy, but it was absolutely worth it.
Wow.
Everything about him. And he is the pillar. I'm an only child. So your previous guest, 10 brothers and sisters, I was like, what was dinner like? Like, I'm so interested in all that.
Yeah.
So I formed my own modern family.
Yeah. So you have 2 daughters.
Yep. And Corey
your
was
son.
the pillar. Yeah.
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 And so the journey was, did you guys act on different things in that interim, like that brought you together, or how did you stay in touch?
His family became close. His mother and father became close with me.
Gotcha. So you'd spend
I
time
had
with them.
New York connections and LA connections, and he wanted to keep doing what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And once he got a solid, stable background, he didn't need to act anymore.
But did he come out to LA with you? Oh, so you came out here together.
Yeah.
Ah.
And he's still here.
And you were both acting at the time.
We were.
Yeah.
We were.
And I know I loved your explanation about LA. LA is the land of no parents. Yeah.
Nobody has any parents.
Nobody
here.
has any parents here. I know I don't.
No. And if you do, and you are from here, I consider you a unicorn because it's such a rare thing.
That would be my partner. She's here 3 generations, and she has her parents. Yeah.
Amazing.
But the majority of people do come here. They leave their families to come to LA, and it's true. It is the land of no parents, no family. Yeah.
Which was why
and
we
make our own.
Make our chosen family.
Yeah.
As you
yeah.
say.
Chosen families are awesome.
They're usually the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he's about 15, 16, you literally took him in?
It was sooner than that. He was about 10.
Oh, okay.
So he'd been with me for some time with my family, and I just sensed that he was harboring something.
Yeah.
You know, I always had a sense that he wasn't going a traditional path.
Uh-huh.
And so I was pregnant with my second child, and I just said to him, okay, I'm locking you in the car. Something's going on. I'm thinking really dark, so either tell me the truth or bring me to the light.
Right,
And he said, well, you know how my sisters have gay uncles? I said, yeah. He said, well, I now have a gay brother. I said, I know. And he said, I know. And I said, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And from that moment on, he just became who he really was.
And then he was happy, and because I know you said he was kind of depressed.
He had
and,
some time. He was struggling for sure.
Well, as anybody does when they're not being their authentic self. That's what we were just talking about with Mel. Yeah,
Yes.
when you're not being your authentic self, how can you shine? How can you feel happy?
And authenticity is, as soon as you're authentic, everything unfolds for you.
And then it must have been wonderful for him to have you and your husband say, hey, no big deal. We love you and we're supportive of you, and just be yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
that's
he
awesome.
very quickly was himself.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot of trials and tribulations. But then again, that's probably his story, not mine. But yeah.
And what is he doing today?
He's a social media director.
Oh, wonderful.
So he went to Berkeley to learn how to tweet. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, anybody who has that skill today is set for life, because that's where the world is all based on social media today.
Yeah.
So if you have
He's
that
pretty
gift,
brilliant at it. Yeah, he's pretty brilliant.
It's a good gift to have. Yeah,
I agree.
So one of the discussions I loved having with you was about how you do your acting, and you're also a coach, and you help people to get rid of their roadblocks. In fact, you have a new book coming out.
I do.
What's the name of that?
It's called Be Bigger. Be Bigger. Yeah.
And
I
it's
feel like
about?
it's a book that sort of step by step tells you how to get what you want by being your authentic self.
Oh, well, there you go. How perfect is that for this conversation?
And I do believe that's why Corey came into my life, so that I could discover that about myself and be able to share it with others. Because I do believe we have gifts.
to discover yourself that you could get
Had so much more to give.
right.
So much more.
And he brought that out in you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have been good for each other.
Yeah.
So you do the acting. Like we said, you're just on these awesome shows.
I feel
And
blessed when it happens.
Feel blessed,
Yeah.
yep. And then you're also blessed, though, because you help other people realize their dreams. So with your coaching, I love what you said in that whoever said we had to be one thing.
Correct.
And if people would get over that, they could really flourish. I think people especially in LA, struggle with being, I'm this and I'm that. It's okay to be two things, especially two things that you love.
And it's okay to be many things.
Yes, more than one thing.
You just have to know what focus, mindset, and accountability is.
Right.
And sometimes it takes a big team to do that.
And I think the biggest thing is don't do something you don't love. You're not going to be good at it. You're not going to be happy. So you love coaching as much as you love
I do. I
acting.
feel they balance each other, and they therefore balance me.
And I gather you help a lot of people in the entertainment industry, because we tend to help people who are, in our tribe
Like-minded,
that, you understand about going out on auditions or wanting to be a writer or whatever. So I know you shared with me a couple of cool stories of people that are coaching clients that you've helped. And let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, it goes along with what you were saying, that if we do one thing and we're pursuing it, and then we have this other thing, but if we go over here, we lose this, and that's not true.
Right.
And I have a couple of clients that have
And you're
really,
living proof of that.
I am.
You're over here
Thank
helping
you.
people find
Thank you
their,
for saying that.
find their destiny, and then you're over here doing your own acting that makes your heart sing as well, and both feed you.
I call it a gift and a passion. I
like
serve
that.
both of them. I had a client who came to me as an actor and a waiter. And he wasn't sure what was going wrong in his world. And we worked and he just had no passion. Everything was blah.
Yeah.
And then one day he came and he
And
said,
I think a lot of people in LA relate to that story right
Yes.
there, because I've had a lot of waiter actors, encountered that they're not happy
they're
doing what
just
they're
trying
doing.
to keep their heads
So
above
that's why I
water.
love this story.
And he came to me. He was very regular. And then one day came to me an off day. And he said, what's going on? He said, I've just been diagnosed with cancer. I will survive, but it's something. And I said, it's a game changer. Look at it that way.
Yes.
This is a game changer.
Yes. Sometimes, unfortunately, we need those wake-up calls that
And
say, what are we doing with our
He
life?
absolutely answered it.
Wow.
He got himself healthy. About 8 weeks later, he came to me and I said, what do you want to do? My standard question is, what do you want?
Yeah.
And he said, I think I want to be a writer. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. How are we going to do that? He said, well, I signed up for a class at UCLA, and he took it. And the teacher said, write what you know. And he said, okay. So he wrote about drag queens and pot.
Okay.
And within 20
Perfect for the cannabis story.
and he submitted it to BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed blasted it all over. And within a week, he had a job offer as a writer on Logo.
Oh, my gosh.
It
Having his dream job.
and he's on track to just do everything that he wants.
You know what's
And
so
he's no
interesting?
longer a waiter, by the way.
Yeah. And what's so interesting about that story too is he thought he wanted to be an actor, and he was doing the waiting because he thought he had to
Creative.
make money. But the funny thing was, he wasn't even in touch with it. Wasn't that he wanted to be an actor? It was that he wanted to be a writer. And I think so many times people are pursuing things that they think that they want,
Because they make a decision
but
when
they're not really
17 or
listening.
18.
Yeah, they're
Correct.
not listening to their insides about what they really want to be doing. Even Corey's a good example. You know, he thought he wanted to be acting, and then you gave him permission that, hey, you can be doing something else, and now he loves and flies with the social media. So
Amazingly.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I always say that I'm there, my coaching is not to change how you do things. It's to give you a different option and to fill in the gaps where things aren't meeting.
Yeah, I
right?
think coaches are great for most people because it gives you a person to bounce things off of, help
Accountability.
give you more perspective, and then I was going to say that's the key thing is
Mm-hmm.
accountability. Because people's friends, they will enable them rather than make them accountable. And so that's the best part about people having a coach, I think, that perspective that's fresh and clean away from somebody you know, and also that accountability is key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the things about people in our lives who love us, they see us in such a light that we may not be,
Right.
right?
Right.
I always say if your mother, your sister, your husband, your wife is giving you
Yeah.
advice, they see you in a different way.
Right.
I like to think that someone like myself or any other coach sees you in the possible you,
Right.
the
right.
authentic you.
So when people want to work with you in that capacity, it's AllisonRobertson.com, right?
Yeah.
Or, yes?
Allison Robertson Associates.
Associates.com.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And I know we have it up on the screen.
Awesome.
And it's Allison with one L.
It is, because
Yeah.
that would be Allison if it was two. Sorry.
We're all in. You were going to share with me another story. I know the girl that spoke at SAG. Yeah,
she's
and you're a
amazing.
speaker too.
I
You
am.
speak at
I
SAG.
am, I do, and AFI, and Universal. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love.
And I do want to hear her story, and then we'll talk about your speaking. But what was that story about her? She stood up.
She's
and-
amazing. This young, beautiful girl stood up in the middle of a talk I was giving, and she said, "I want your advice as to whether I should lose 10 pounds or should I gain 5 pounds."
She wanted to be an actress.
Actress. She was an actress. Sorry, and I said. I said to everybody in the room, nobody breathe, don't say anything. I said, what is it that you really want? And she said, well, I'm an expert on ADHD, and I would like a YouTube channel. And I was like, okay. I said, you just want to be bigger. It's not about your weight. And she was...
And that's the name of your book, Be Bigger. Yeah.
And it actually came from her.
Yeah.
Because in that moment... I was like, that's what everybody needs the encouragement to do, is be a little bigger, not shrink or gain but just...
Or be like everybody else. Oh, I got to lose 5 pounds to look like so-and-so. And
So she came to me and we started working together, and now she's over 25,000 followers, and
Wow.
YouTube is helping her, and she's becoming an expert in this country, helping other kids understand that what they have is not a disability, it's a superpower.
So she had this herself? Mm-hmm. So she had the ADHD. She wanted
Taught
to
herself.
do a YouTube channel about that. Now she does it, and she has like 25,000
She's amazing.
followers. Wow, that's great. And helps other children.
Yeah.
That's-
Again, being your
what a
authentic
gift.
self.
What a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to witness that
So
stuff.
by being on her own YouTube channel, she's kind of doing the acting, but doing it with a purpose. You know, that's what people got to understand is sometimes it comes in different shapes and forms. You know,
If you
it's
know
not
your-
in the way that we, you know, just have this idea that it has to be done this certain way.
Yeah.
That there may be another way to use those skills, right?
Yes, if we know
Yeah.
the why we're doing something, the how becomes really simple.
Right.
Really simple.
Yeah. Yeah, because anybody could start their YouTube channel, but
Yeah.
she wasn't in touch with that. It's interesting that she had that epiphany
Yeah.
while working with
And
you.
she's so authentic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
I love her story too.
Yeah, well, anybody who's being authentic is going to be soaring at whatever they do, because
And it happens quick.
yeah.
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 A lot of times our own personal stories of who we think we are or how people perceive us keep us stuck.
Right.
And we keep telling the same story over and over again when we're like, I
Yeah.
always thought I wasn't
Change the story.
a mother type. I didn't think I would have, I knew I wanted family,
Yeah,
but I didn't know I would have children.
yeah. And now you're a great mom.
But here's what it,
3 kids.
but once I said, no, that's not my story.
Yeah, yeah.
My story is I know how to help people.
Yeah. I always say life is a choice, and it's wonderful because we've got this big blank, canvas that we get to paint whatever we want, instead of thinking that life happens to us. No,
Life
we
happens
create
for
it.
us. Life happens for us, right?
Right. I love that.
And we get to do things, not we have to.
Right.
It's a big
So
one
you
for
do
me.
speaking,
I do.
okay,
I do.
and you do that to actors at SAG and
Actors, creatives, or entrepreneurs. Yeah.
And what type of things do you talk about? Like about finding your passion or
One, finding your gift versus your passion, because they're two
Right.
separate things.
Yes.
And what's a skill set?
yeah. How would you describe that? What's a gift and what's a passion?
I'll give you my example.
Okay.
My gift is that I know how to help people. My passion is I'll act. And I'll act anywhere. I'll act in the basement of a
Don't
church.
act up here today.
Or I'll act in a paid job.
Right.
And
Which is why we're headed over to the scandal.
That's right. We're going over there, knock on the
Studio.
door as my authentic self. But
She
that's
will
the,
act anywhere.
That's the difference. And a skill set is
Yeah.
something that you might be good at. I'm
Yeah.
good with design, or I'm a good singer, but it's not
Right.
something I would base my whole life on.
Right.
But my gift and my passion.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I didn't think about them being two separate things, but they are. Yeah, and sometimes they're tied together.
Sometimes they are, but
Yeah.
people hold them too preciously. And I'm saying just give them some breath.
Right.
Give it some breath.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're doing. I love that you're helping other people in the entertainment industry. And I love that you're doing what you love, what you're passionate about. I look forward to seeing you on more shows.
Thank you.
And I think it's great that you're a mom and that you adopted a child that wasn't yours and gave them a great family and acceptance and love. And what a beautiful light in the world you are.
Thank you.
So thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you
Thanks,
for all you're
Catherine.
doing. I'm so happy to have you on, Allison.
Thank you.
And keep living your passion and giving your gifts.
And you too.
Thank you. And we will be back next week. Be sure to tune in and be sure to follow us on YouTube as well as on Facebook and other social media. We're so happy to have you tune in and grateful to be interviewing these wonderful ladies. Just make it an amazing day. Hugs and happiness.